From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. We bring you everything from breaking news.
President must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation.
World news, sport, music, and many more. To listen to our programs, follow us live on all our social media platforms on Facebook at Aloore Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Aloore Radio. You can also subscribe on our YouTube page on Aloore Radio. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when we are live. This is Aloore Radio, the voice of Oyo State. Let us take you on a journey across continents as we bring you latest news, captivating stories, and diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. Whether you're a native of Ibadan or a visitor, Aloore Radio brings you closer to the heart and soul of Oyo State and beyond. Aloore Radio, the online radio that amplifies the voice of Oyo State. Share, listen to Aloore Radio on Facebook. Aloore Radio, the voice of Oyo State.
Good morning outside there. You're welcome to another beautiful edition of your favorite program on your darling station, Newspaper Review. This morning, I have with me the Punch newspaper Nigerian Tribune. I will firstly go through the headline at the front page of the two dailies before I go into the in-depth details of the story package for yours. I am Temitope Ojo. I will welcome you once again to this morning edition of your program. We transmit from the GSM studio at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. Once again, I'm going to review with us the Punch newspaper and Nigerian Tribune. Firstly, I'll go through the headline at the front page of the Punch newspaper with the leading story that says Dangote refinery import crude as NNPC here swaps oil for loans. The story is on page 18. We also have two riders. Dangote expects crude from NNPC here November, begin operation October. And also $3 billion crude oil loan deals other put pressure on local supply. Still at the front page of the Punch newspaper, Tinubu victories. Article Obi filed 86 grand appeal at Supreme Court. The story is on page 2. Niger crisis will put pressure on Nigerian food market by World Bank. We can get the details of that news on page 29. And dollar shortage. Foreign airlines trapped fund hit $783 million. The story on page 28. Youth protest on mobile debt demanded justice. Page 4 and page 5 respectively. Governor plan renovation as migrants vandalize Lagos pedestrian bridge. The story is on page 5. Power drunk Lagos policeman invade the Lekki shop, arrest attendant, plots charges. Page 4 and page 5. And finally, at the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, UNGA Tinubu bidding condemn schools, insist on democracy. That story can be found on page 39. And also, at the front page of Nigerian Tribune this morning, we have a leading story that says Atiku Obi 486 grand overpay at Supreme Court. Wants Appeals Court to nullify Tinubu's victory at PEPC, page 16 of Nigerian Tribune this morning. Most Nigerian politicians are destiny destroyers, not Appeals. Bishop Fakpe on page 5 with another writing that says, as 8th remembrance and patronal anniversary of HID Aloore holds in Shagamu. At UNGA, Tinubu says governance failure, foreign exploitation, others overburden Africa, page 8. Nomination open for 2023 Obafemi Awolowo Leadership Prize. This story is on page 2. These are ex-depot price hit 1,000 naira per litre as oil marketers lament incessant increase on page 6. The national grid collapses again 5 days after restoration. The story is on page 7. Also, at the front page of Nigerian Tribune this morning is a story that says NNPCL retires top management staff in major shake-up, page 6. On Obasanjo's attack, our silence not act of cowardice or your obas, page 8. Government kills soldiers, policemen, others in Himo, that is page 12. And also Dangote Refinery to begin diesel jet fuel production in October. That report can be found on page 7. And lastly, at the front page of Nigerian Tribune, protests to rock 4 cities over Mohbad's death. So Wolu invited DSIs to join the probe. With all these headlines and more details inside of the 2 dailies, we're going to observe a very short break. Please stay tuned.
kí ló dé tóun tó dáa kì í kún ẹlẹ́gàn lójú ìjọba ẹnjìnìà Ṣèyí Mákindé ọ̀fẹ́ràn ṣẹ́kárí mi ni ṣùgbọ́n bọ́lọ̀ ń bá rí ọ nítorí àfẹnuyọ sùsìsì tí ń dùn lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ jẹ́yìn náà rí ọ ọ̀pọ̀ àṣeyọrí lórí ìdàgbàsókè níjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ti ṣe ẹ̀já sọ díẹ̀ mbẹ́ ó pèsè ọkọ̀ lárìnká sọ̀fin tó tó agbègbè iṣẹ́ ibi kárì ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ àfikún àtìròyìn lágbára fáwọn operation boss dáyẹ́tẹ̀ ìwéré ilé àtàgbà rẹ ó fi kún agbára ẹ̀rọ ayíjúkọ́ bí òwìwí gbàwòrán àṣẹlẹ̀ pàjáwìrì sílẹ̀ ńbàdàn commissioning of mobile squadron unit lágbára rẹ ọ̀dáwọlé múgbòòrò ètò ọrọ̀ ajé nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ nípasẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ farm of estates lákùfò èrúwà àti láwẹ́ pípín ohun ọ̀gbìn fẹ́gbẹ̀rún mẹ́wàá àgbẹ̀ asphalt and equipment níjàyè fífọwọ́síwé èmi ni mo ní nǹkan mi sí ọ̀fọ̀ lóṣù péréte ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀ mílíọ̀nù fún dènà covid-19 àbítọ̀nà ọ̀dájú road lautech vehicle inspection center ìdíàpẹ́ ọ̀nà máníyà ìjàyè sí sẹ́yìn àtàwọn agbègbè dágbègbè níbàdàn ó gbówó oṣù ọdún 4 kalẹ̀ fún òṣìṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì àwọn olùkọ́ gbogbo ọ̀ọ́dúnrún òṣìṣẹ́ tí wọ́n dádúró lọ́nà àìtọ́ ló gbà padà tó sì ń sanwó wọn déédéé abẹ́ gbáriwo ó káṣọ ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́ta owó tóbi ń san ẹ̀kọ́ dọ̀fẹ́ ó pín ìwò tún kíláàsì ṣe ó fa látẹ̀kì padà di tìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ àtúnṣe pẹ̀lú ohun èlò fún ilé ìwòsàn alábọ́dé lọ́pọ̀ bíi mélòó láwọn aka tábọ̀ ara ẹni tí ń pẹ̀gàn ìjọba Ṣèyí Mákindé má pẹ̀lú ọ̀bọ̀jẹ̀kọ̀ ohun gbogbo tí ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ ní ẹja jọ wò.
Ọ̀yọ́ State Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism.
Iṣẹ́ Olúwa kò sẹ́ni tó iṣẹ́ Olúwa jù tàbá lọ. Lọ́lọ́run ọba fi gbé àga lọ́lọ́run ọba fi gbé àga ò lẹ́bí ń bínú lẹ́bí ń pẹ̀gàn o.
Ọlọ́run jẹ̀dá lọ. tá a bá rẹ̀ ni tá a kórìíra. tá a wá fẹjọ́ ẹ̀sùn Ọlọ́run wípé kó má dépò. tọ́lọ́run wá gbégbé ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ dépò tán. èèyàn gbà fọlọ́ ni o. kí ló dé ẹni tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ ọ̀tá ọ̀lẹ abiyamọ ọ̀tá àgàn. wọ́n ní pàkúté ọ̀tá ẹni ègbódù ọ̀yà. ká mẹ́yìn lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ọ̀tún mẹ́yìn lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ òsì. ká fẹ́yìn ní délùú sẹ́yìn ẹni tí ò ní yin ni ò ní yin ni. ẹ̀ ń pé gómìnà Ṣèyí Mákindé ò ṣe nǹkan kan kò ṣe nǹkan kan. pẹ̀lú àfojúsùn òpó mẹ́rẹ̀ ẹni tó gbé lọ́wọ́ tọ́lọ́ ń sìn fún un ṣe lọ. akitiyan Ṣèyí Mákindé lójú ọ̀nà ètò ẹ̀kọ́. ó ṣe káńsù ẹgbẹ̀rún 3 tó bí ń san lórí ọmọ kọ̀ọ̀kan. ó ṣe ẹ̀kọ́ dọ̀fẹ́. ó pínwé ó tún yàrá ìkàwé ṣe. bẹ́ẹ̀ ló falẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ gíga LAUTECH padà di tìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. ètò ìlera ńkọ́. àtúnṣe pẹ̀lú gbégbé sóhun èlò fúnlé ìwòsàn alábọ́dé. ẹ wo laboratory tó wà nílé ìwòsàn ní Ọ̀yọ́. àwọn ọkọ̀ ambulance gbogbo wọ̀nyí ńkọ́. ìgbìyànjú Ṣèyí Mákindé lórí ìkétò ààbò lè mú dán nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ńkọ́. ó pèsè ọkọ̀ fáwọn agbófinró kí wọ́n máa fi yíde patrol ní tìbútòrò ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. operation boss tó kó fún wọn láyé tẹ̀ ìwéré ilé àtàgọ́ rẹ̀. CCTV camera lójú pópó lùbàdàn. commissioning of mobile squadron units lágọ̀ rẹ̀. tó wá dà bẹ́ẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ máa gbéṣẹ́ yóò ṣe nǹkan kan. nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ wa ìtẹ́tọ̀ ọ̀gbìn náà wọ ìjọba gbà. ó ṣàgbékalẹ̀ farm estate lákòókò. èrú àti awẹ́ lábẹ́ òsádà. ó tún fẹ́ gbẹ̀rún lọ́nà ogún àgbẹ̀ léso kí wọ́n gbìn
ìdókò wọn. ó mójútó ìdókòwò tó lè máa pawó wọlé fún wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. asphalt àti quarry plant níjàyè. gbogbo ẹni tó ń ṣe sí ọ̀fọ̀ ilẹ̀ rẹ̀ báyìí nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ní kíákíá ìrọ̀rùn ló ń bá dé o. ẹgbẹ̀gbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀ owó tó gbé kalẹ̀ fún dènà COVID-19 nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. bó ṣe ń faná ló ń ṣọ̀nà ló ń ṣomi. owó oṣù òjà àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ yàmọ́. bẹ́ẹ̀ làwọn òṣìṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì ń gbẹ̀tọ́ wọn déédéé. a ní ẹ̀rìn gbòòrò wò kẹ́rì sẹ́tíṣẹ́ yìí Mákindé ń ṣe ẹlẹ́ẹ̀ráyè. ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. ṣé wàá rí báyìí polówó kan tẹ̀nu. ẹ kíyè sáwọn tẹ̀m̀bẹ̀lẹ̀kùn ẹ̀dá tí wọn kì í ráṣẹ yọrí ẹlòmíì. ẹ jẹ́ gbárùkù tí ẹnjìnìá Ṣèyí Mákindé kó kẹsẹ̀ járí. lójúpọ̀nà àfojúsùn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin tó gbé lọ́wọ́ yìí. ẹ̀yin ará bí ẹ fọ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀.
ẹ ò gbọ́dọ̀ o fàjà mi àgbẹ̀ máa dùn.
ìkéde ìwá láti iléeṣẹ́ ìròyìn àṣà àtìrìnàjò afẹ́ nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́.
Yes, you're welcome back, and a quick reminder that you can join us on all our social media pages on Facebook, on YouTube website. Our mobile app can be easily downloaded on Play Store, and our active line is 09039853731. Once again, thanks for joining us. The first story at the Punch newspaper this morning is on page 2. Tinubu's victory. Atiku Obi filed 86 grand appeal at Supreme Court. Barely 2 weeks after the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal affirmed the victory of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the February 25th polls, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party and Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, have filed 86 grounds of appeal at the Supreme Court to nullify the judgment. The two candidates in separate appeal filed on Tuesday asked the Apex Court to set aside the PEPT ruling and nullify Tinubu's election, describing the verdict as erroneous. Atiku's appeal was hinged on 35 grounds in which he faulted the tribunal's ruling on electronic transmission of results, Federal Capital Territory votes, and other key plans. Obi, on the other hand, faulted the September 6 judgment of 51 grounds. The PEPT, led by Justice Aruna Zanami, had in a unanimous decision held that Atiku and Obi, as well as other petitioners, failed to substantiate the allegations against the poll conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The justice stated that the documentary and oral evidence presented before them could not prove the claims of irregularities, corrupt practices, no compliances with electoral guidelines, and other allegations for which the petitioners had asked the court to void Tinubu's election. Atiku, who came second in the poll, had prayed the court to void Tinubu's election and declare him as the authentic winner of the poll, and Obi, on the other hand, also said he was the rightful winner of the poll despite committed in the exercise. In the notice of appeal dated September 18 and filed by his late counsel, Chief Chris Uche Esehin, the former vice president, sought the nod of the Apex Court to allow the appeal and set aside the judgment of the lower court. We can read more about that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Still on the Daily, you will defend fund diversions allegation, Abiodun tells the local government boss. Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has said that the impeached chairman of Ijebu East local government, Wale Adedayo, should be ready to defend the false allegation leveled against him and his government. This is just as Abiodun stressed the need to instill party discipline within the All Progressive Congress to ensure that members of the party are accountable for their actions. He disclosed this during a meeting with the leaders of the APC in Ijebu East local government, led by a former member of the House of Representatives who represented Ijebu North, Ijebu East, and Ogun Waterside between 2007 and 2011, Chief Segun Oshibote, on Monday. This was contained in a statement made available to the journalists on Tuesday by the Chief Press Secretary. While saying that he was prepared to defend himself against the allegation of fund diversion by Adedayo, the governor said, and I quote, "There are two things. He lied against me as the governor. He lied against as Dapo Abiodun. He spoiled my name, and he tried to incite the public against the government." While Adedayo has to answer all these allegations one after the other. End of quote. You can get more about that gist on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. Still on the same page, Obasanjo blames bad governance for military coup in Africa. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo on Tuesday said bad governance is at the root of the recent coup d'etat sweeping through some African countries. According to Obasanjo, the practice of democracy without integrity, bad governance, nepotism, and favoritism amid child syndromes are fueling the coup d'etat in Africa. With the last 2 months, the military are taking over democratically elected government in Gabon and Niger Republic, citing poor leadership and mismanagement of the country's resources. Obasanjo said that as much as he hated military rules, having sovereign and total leadership under the late military deport, General Sani Abacha, when he was incarcerated for the 1995 Fortune coup, the administration of the African leaders was, however, making the citizen to seek alternative liberators beyond the government of the day. Hence this gale of military coup. Let's read more about that story on page 7. Still on the Punch newspaper this morning. On page 14, Yoruba Obas insist on Obasanjo's public apology. A group comprising royal fathers from Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, Kwara, and Kogi State has insisted that the manner in which ex-President Olusegun Obasanjo other monarchs present at the project inauguration in Isheyin, Oyo State last Friday was condemnable. The royal father, under the aegis of the Yoruba Obas Forum, subsequently demanded a public apology from the ex-president. Obasanjo at the event had berated the monarch for refusing to rise in welcoming Governor Seyi Makinde, noting that the action of the royal father was tantamount to disrespect of the office of the governor. Displeased by how the monarch treated Makinde, Obasanjo ordered them to rise from the seat, which they responded so. The action of the ex-president, however, attracted several criticism, but while explaining why he ordered the monarchs to stand up, Obasanjo in a statement said the governor, being the one recognized by the constitution as the highest in ranking at the state level, deserved respect from the monarch. But Yoruba Oba Forums, in a statement signed by its president, the Molokun of Atijere in Ondo State, Oba Samuel Adeoye, and the general secretary, who is also the Olukotun of Ikotun in Kwara State, Oba Abdulrazak Abioye, on Tuesday said Obasanjo's outburst was an affront and an intentional desecration of revered traditional store in Yoruba land. You can read that story on page 40 of the Punch newspaper. And right now, I'm going to observe a very short break. Please stay tuned.
omi tuntun ti ru ẹja tuntun wà ní odò ẹtún máa gbá.
kí ló dé tóun tó dáa kì í kún ẹlẹ́gàn lójú. ìjọba ẹnjìnìà Ṣèyí Mákindé ọ̀fẹ́ràn ṣẹ́kárí mi ni. ṣùgbọ́n bọ́lọ̀ ń bá rí ọ nítorí àfẹnuyọ sùsìsì tí ń dùn lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ jẹ́yìn náà rí ọ. ọ̀pọ̀ àṣeyọrí lórí ìdàgbàsókè níjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ti ṣe. ẹ̀já sọ díẹ̀ ńbẹ̀. ó pèsè ọkọ̀ lárìnká sọ̀fin tó tó agbègbè iṣẹ́ ibi kárí ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́. àfikún àtìrónilágbára fáwọn operation boss. dáyẹ́tẹ̀ ìwéré ilé àtàgọ́ rẹ̀ ó fi kún agbára ẹ̀rọ ayélujára bí òwìwí. gbàwòrán àṣẹlẹ̀ pàjáwìrì sílẹ̀ ńbàdàn commissioning of mobile squadron unit lágọ̀ọ́ rẹ̀ ó dáwọ́lé múgbòòrò ètò ọrọ̀ ajé nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ nípasẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ farm of estates lákùfò èrúwà àti láwẹ́ pípín ohun ọ̀gbìn fẹ́gbẹ̀rún mẹ́wàá àgbẹ̀ asphalt and equipment níjàyè fífọwọ́síwé èmi ni mo ní nǹkan mi sí ọ̀fọ̀ lóṣù péréte ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀ mílíọ̀nù fún dènà covid-19 àbítọ̀nà ọ̀dàjì road lautech vehicle inspection center ìdíàpẹ́ ọ̀nà amáníyà ìjàyè sí sẹ́yìn àtàwọn agbègbè dágbègbè níbàdàn ó gbówó oṣù ọdún mẹ́rin kalẹ̀ fún ìṣẹ́fẹ̀yìntì àwọn olùkọ́ gbogbo ọ̀ọ́dúnrún òṣìṣẹ́ dádúró lọ́nà àìtọ́ ló gbà padà tó sì ń sanwó wọn déédéé àbẹ́ gbáriwo ó káṣù ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́ta owó tóbi ń san ẹ̀kọ́ dọ̀fẹ́ ó pín ìwò tún kíláàsì ṣe ó fa LAUTECH padà di tìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ àtúnṣe pẹ̀lú ohun èlò fún ilé ìwòsàn alábọ́dé lọ́pọ̀ bíi mélòó láwọn aka tábọ̀ ara ẹni tí ń pẹ̀gàn ìjọba Ṣèyí Mákindé má pẹ̀lú ọ̀bọ̀jẹ̀kọ̀ ohun gbogbo tí ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ ní ẹja jọ wò.
Ọ̀yọ́ State Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism.
Yes, you're welcome back, and thanks so much for staying at Aloore Radio, where we transmit from the GSM studio at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. On page 5, most Nigerian politicians are destiny destroyers, not Epa Fakpe. The Archbishop of Lagos Province Church Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Michael Fakpe, on Thursday took a swipe at most Nigerian politicians, describing them as destiny destroyers in their actions and deeds towards the people. Fakpe in his sermon delivered at the 80th Remembrance and Patron Service of Chief Dr. Anna Idowu Awolowo, head of the HID Awolowo Anglican Church, Shagamu, noted that the most leaders voted into power are not in any way adding value to the lives of those who brought them into power, but rather subjecting them to untold hardship. Let's read that story on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. On the same page, investment. Nigeria will no longer accept crumbs by Tinubu. President Bola Tinubu has vowed that Nigeria will no longer settle for crumbs and leftover on the investment agenda of the world's most illustrious energy conglomerate, saying that the country has never been more ready for business than it is now. He made the declaration when he played host to a delegation consisting of the global leadership of oil and gas transitional giants ExxonMobil on Monday in New York. Tinubu stated that following an illustrious private sector career as a professional accountant in the oil and gas industry, he has proven his capacity to take a difficult decision as president and is best prepared to solve problems standing in the way of new and large-scale capital flow into Nigeria oil and gas industry. That story is on page 5 of Nigerian Tribune. And on the following page, cooperative must innovative to stay relevant, Obi says so. And also at that page, it is an ex-depot price hit 1,000 naira per litre as oil marketers lament incessant increase. Oil marketers have lamented the soaring increase in the ex-depot price of automotive gas oil, AGO, also known as diesel, which now sold between 970 naira and 1,000 naira. Between July and September, the price has moved from 600 naira to the current price, a development marketer described as alarming. National President, Natural Oil and Gas Supplier Association of Nigeria, Bennett Okori, in a statement issued in Abuja on Tuesday, said the rapid increase in price have made it difficult for suppliers to accept products and loans from commercial banks. Kori said the rising price has affected lootage and called on government for intervention. Read more about that story on page 6. On page 7, Dangote Refinery to begin diesel jet fuel production in October. On page 12, government abduct farmer in Kwara State. Government suspected to be kidnappers have abducted a 60-year-old farmer, Mr. Kayode Ajayi, while coming from his farm located at Lalugbe village in National Local Government area of Kwara State. This is just as operatives of the anti-kidnap unit of the State Police Command have been deployed in the village, while local hunters and villagers are completing the effort to rescue the victims. That crime story is on page 12 of Nigerian Tribune. And on page 13, Orama Lugo takes over as Oyo Osun Customs Area Command. Nigeria Customs Service has deployed a new area controller, Ben Orama Lugo, to Oyo Osun Area Command to take over the leadership. This was sequel to the report recently deployments of area controller by the Acting Controller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi. Orama Lugo took over from the Estua Area Controller Babajide Jayoba, who had been deployed as Controller Apapa Area Command. The story is on page 13 of Nigerian Tribune. And from there, I'll move to page 16, where I'll just go through the headline of Atiku Obi filed 86 grand of appeal at Supreme Court. Aggrieved Oyo APC member protest against the nomination of non-party members for political office as Ganduje visits Ibadan. Aggrieved member of All Progressive Congress APC in Oyo State have protested against the ceding of political appointments meant for party members to non-party members by the leadership of the party. The protesters, while receiving the national chairman of the party, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, at the party secretariat in Ibadan Tuesday, described the development as unacceptable. They faulted the appointment of the governorship candidate of Accord, who was a former member of the party, Chief Adeboye Adelabu, as Minister of Power, and the presence of Accord members at the gathering. You can get more about that story on page 16 of Nigerian Tribune. And from there, I will move to the sport page of the paper where I have that story. They say, Lukaku needs love to excel by Mourinho. As Roma manager Jose Mourinho said, Romelu Lukaku tries to win if he loved after the striker scored his first Roman goal on Sunday in 7-0 win over Empoli. The Belgian joined the club from the Italian capital on a season-long loan from Chelsea in the summer. Lukaku started rejoined Chelsea for $97.5 million in 2021, but his return proving unsuccessful, and he was not part of the new manager Mauricio Pochettino's plan. You can get that story and more at the front page of Nigerian Tribune this morning. And from there, we're going to call it a day on today's edition of Newspaper Review from Aloore Radio, where we transmit from the GSM studio at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. Till tomorrow, when we have another fresh edition of this program. I'm Temitope Ojawo. Have a pleasant day.
Whether you're a native of Ibadan or a visitor, Aloore Radio brings you closer to the heart and soul of Oyo State